Make sure you download the KDUS AM 1060 app. You can also join us on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel. Michael over there says, I think I'm done with Jimmy. Not worth it anymore. Would just become a nightmare down the road. And I understand if that's how you feel today. I understand if you've seen all of this, if you've seen everything that's gone down here over the last couple of days, last couple of weeks, and you said, you know what, I'm good. I'm good. I'd rather go in a different direction. I'd rather see this team do something different with those draft picks that they acquired, those 3 picks that they got. I'd rather them do something different. I can understand if that's how you feel today. I gave you 2 numbers before the break. I said 46 and 24. Maybe you thought about it. Maybe you tried to guess what those numbers meant. Well, you don't have to worry any longer. I will tell you exactly what those numbers mean. 46. That was the number of wins that it took to be the 10 seed in the Western Conference last year. You had Oklahoma City and Denver lead the way at 57. You had Minnesota at 56, the Clippers 51, Dallas at 50. So those 5 teams all in the 50-win club. You had the Suns sneak in there, right? Just got into the 6th spot, avoided the play-in tournament at 49 wins. But then you had the Pelicans at 49 as the 7th seed, the Lakers at 47 wins as the 8th seed, and then your 9 and 10 seed was Sacramento and Golden State, who both ended the year 46 and 36. So 46, that was the number it took last year to be in the play-in tournament. So what does 24 mean, everybody? That's how many wins the Suns would need the rest of the way. Correct me if I'm wrong, Producer Dylan, but if I take their 22 wins that they currently have, and I add another 24 wins, that gets us to 46. Does that math check out? That's good math here on a Friday? Oh, I got the thumbs up. Okay, that's great. Good to know that our math is working here on a Friday. They need to win 24 games the rest of the way to match last year's win total of the 10 seed. Now, is it going to necessarily require 46? You don't know. It's give or take. But let's just look at last year's numbers. Let's just look at last year's math. It took 46 wins to get in to the play-in tournament last year, to be the 10 seed. That means with their remaining 39 games is what they have left on the calendar, they would have to go 24 and 15. 24 and 15 over their last 39 games to make the postseason, or to hit 46 wins, which is what it took last year. Now, maybe it doesn't take 46. Maybe it takes 45. Maybe it takes 44. But if you just look at last year and what it took 46. And remember yesterday and the day before that, we told you how difficult the Suns' schedule was, and we told you 4th hardest schedule in the NBA. How about this? It's an ever-evolving game we play here today, everybody. The Suns now with 39 games left, and after everyone else has played games, their schedule has jumped up to number 1 because they got rid of that game against Brooklyn off the ledger, right? And so now all those hard games get weighted a little more, and you lose one of the easy opponents that you have left. It is now the hardest schedule the rest of the way. So a team that in 43 games so far, right, 22 and 21, they've been a 500 middle-of-the-road team. They've been just even, 22 and 21 in 43 games. With the hardest schedule remaining in the NBA, remember, it was the 4th hardest just a couple days ago, but because Brooklyn falls off the schedule and teams' records are constantly changing, it's the hardest schedule in the NBA the rest of the way. That team, who went 22 and 21 over their first 43, has to find a way to go 24 and 15 over their remaining 39, which is the hardest 39 remaining in the NBA, to just match last year's 10 seed, which, by the way, would be 3 games worse than where they finished last year. And I'll tell you, this team feels a lot more than 3 games worse than last year's team. I don't mean to throw cold water on everything that we're talking about with Jimmy Butler and Bradley Beal, but this is why I'm so pessimistic about them doing this move. It's why I don't think they should make these moves. It's why I think trading the 2031 pick and going all in for Jimmy Butler would be a mistake. The numbers are just not on their side. Are they going to all of a sudden be a different basketball team with the hardest schedule the rest of the way? Are they going to all of a sudden find a stretch that's different? Are they going to all of a sudden be better than what they've been, which is a middle-of-the-road team? Because middle of the road would be 20 and 20. That would be 4 wins short. And that's 20 and 20 with the hardest schedule remaining in the NBA. And we've told you what that looks like. 2 against Oklahoma City, 2 against Boston, 3 against Houston, 3 against Memphis, 1 against the Cavs, 1 against the Knicks. I'll tell you, I watched this team play against the Cavs. Wasn't great. Did you feel good watching that game on Monday against the Cavaliers? Did you enjoy what you saw? Because you got one more with them. Looking through their schedule now. Remember that game against Memphis? I remember it. Already lost to the Knicks once this year. Lost to the Thunder once this year already. All these teams that are going to pop up on your schedule again, you've played them and you've lost. Boom. Here you go. Toughest 39 games of the season. If you basically go 500, we'll round up to 40. That's 20-20. That's not enough. That doesn't get you to what last year's 10 seed ultimately got you. Now, the cool part about this is we can do our daily update. We can tell you what the Phoenix Suns' current playoff probabilities are via, I'm going to call them our good friends because we reference them all the time, at Basketball Reference. Yesterday it was what? I think it was 8%, 8.7%. It's back down to 5.7% after yesterday. So there's your daily update on the playoff probabilities for the Phoenix Suns, the 5.7%. Their projected finishing record, according to these outcomes on Basketball Reference, 38 wins and 43 losses. They have the 10 seed being the 42 and 39 Golden State Warriors. So let's, just for argument's sake, say it's that number that they have to get to. So not 46 like it was last year. Let's say it's 42, what these projections say. That is 20 wins out of your next 39 games. That's 20-19. You have to continue to play 500 basketball. You have to do exactly what you've been doing, but you have to do so with the hardest schedule remaining in the NBA. And so with the hardest schedule remaining in the NBA and the way this team's playing, you can't fault them if they don't get to 20 wins. And that's if 42 is the number. That's if that's what it's going to take to get in. If it's more than that, it gets even harder. 46 and 24. Those are your numbers. 46 was what it took last year. 24 is how many wins it would take the remainder of this year. Ask yourself this question. The hardest schedule remaining in the NBA, I referenced a handful of the games. The games I referenced, let's do some quick math. 1 against the Cavs, 2 against the Thunder, that's 3. 2 against the Celtics, that's 5. 3 against the Rockets, that's 8. 3 against Memphis, that's 11. 1 against the Knicks, that's 12. 12 of their 39 games were against those teams. What's their record in just those 12 games? Have they beaten any of those teams already this year? They have a win against any of those teams. I'd have to look for sure. I know they haven't beaten the Cavs yet. They lost to Memphis already this year. They lost to the Knicks already this year. They lost to Oklahoma City already this year. I've watched all those games. 12 of their 39. They going to go 500 in that stretch? They're going to go 6-6? The math ain't mathin'. The math's pretty simple here. It's an uphill battle. They have to do exactly what they've been doing, but with an increase in competition, with the hardest schedule left in the NBA. So is it possible? Yes, mathematically it's there. But there's a reason why they have a 5.7% chance of making the playoffs. They won 49 games a year ago. They went 49-33. Their projection right now is to finish with 38. That's 16 more. That's 16 more wins than where they currently stand right now. That would be winning 16 of their 39. That would be going 16-23 to do some quick math. That gets them to 38. They need to find another 4 potentially to get into the playoffs with that schedule. I don't know. The math just doesn't math for me. So no, I don't want them to trade for Jimmy Butler. No, I don't want them to trade the 2031 unprotected pick. Well, they already crossed that line. We're past the point of no return there. They turned that pick into 3 picks. So they're going to do something with those picks. No matter what, something is going to happen with those draft picks. Why? Because they're going to try to give this a go. Well, if they are, these are the raw numbers. 46 and 24. Potentially 42 and 20. This basketball team in their final 39 games probably has to find at least 20 victories. And so with 12 of the 39 that I just outlined, and no, there are other teams in there that are solid. There are other teams in there that could give the Suns fits. I watched this team. They lost to Atlanta. They lost to Charlotte. They played Detroit close. They almost blew it against Washington, who they play tomorrow. Like, there are teams that aren't in the toughest remaining opponents that could cause fits for the Suns. They don't have wiggle room. We've told you this. There's no margin for error. They can't slip up. They can't drop one to Washington. They can't drop to Portland. I'm just reading their easiest opponents. They've got 2 against the Bulls, 2 against the Pelicans, the Raptors, 1 against the Jazz and the Wizards. You can't drop those games. You can't. The math tells you what you need to do. The math tells you there's got to be 20 more wins. You've got to be above 500, more than likely. So you've got to get to 42 somehow at a minimum. That's 20 more wins. You've got 39 games. You have to play 1 game above 500 the rest of the way, which is what you've done up until this point. And you have to do so facing the hardest schedule remaining in the NBA. Your strength of schedule, a .534 winning percentage. The teams you are playing the rest of the way, you add it all up, it's a .534 strength of schedule, the hardest in the NBA. That is the uphill climb that this team faces. Does Jimmy Butler help them with that? Potentially. He doesn't help with all of it. And we told you in the first segment how likely that is at this point. $39 games left on the schedule, a .534 strength of schedule, and you need to find at least 20 wins the rest of the way. So play everybody's favorite game. We do this when the NFL schedule comes out, the win-loss game, right? Do it. Do the exercise. Look at the Suns schedule. Be honest with yourself. See if you can get to 20. If you get to 20, then maybe the play-in, think about this for a second. That's just to be in the play-in tournament would be 20 wins. This team was the 6th seed last year. They won 49 games. Think about what they would have to do to get to that number. The math doesn't math anymore for this team.